Hello, so today we're going to have a look at one of these filters, which is a Scott Pro 2000 CF32 AXP3RD, but basically it's the organic vapour and the particle filter version of this range of Scott filters. Now, before I opened it, I did want to do a little complaint about something which I've said to people before. I quite like these filters. What I don't like is the fact that they never really put a good seal on them. As you can see, the top of the filter is exposed there and it's just in a plastic bag, but you might be able to see on this one there's a split in the plastic there. So basically these bags are pretty crap ways of storing filters. Really, they should plug the filters, you know. But anyway, let's not complain too much about that because that's not the focus of the video. Now, one of the focuses of this video is a couple of different people on the Discord. I think it was Sonofsono and as well Infinity11 or Infinity1111, whatever his name was. Basically reckons these filters fit perfectly fine on GOST masks, and the reason for that is people digging up some manuals on them, and they think these might be 40mm DIN threads, as in DIN, not GOST or NATO. Well, of course they wouldn't be GOST, but I always assumed that these would be just basically standard NATO filters in terms of screw thread. But apparently they might be GOST, which raises a lot of possibilities. Well, not GOST, sorry, DIN. Because DIN is the really old sort of 40mm thread, but DIN was actually kind of better because it meant that a DIN filter in theory screwed into a NATO or GOST mask later on. I'm not really into the massive history of filter threads, so if I keep making mistakes here, you'll know why. But, you know, unlike GOST or NATO, where you'd run into all the problems of you can't really put a NATO filter in a GOST mask, at least without bodging it, you know, of extra O-rings, some silicone adhesive or whatever else, didn't work very well. So, here we have these filters. And obviously we've got some 40mm GOST masks. Now, I'm not going to put any extra O-rings in them for this video, because we've covered in previous videos, sometimes if you put extra O-rings in a GOST mask, you can actually just force a NATO filter on and it'll work. Now, I'll just clarify what the sake of this video is for, because some people are going, oh, but it's not really very good NBC protection to have a, you know, old GOST mask or whatever and bodging a filter. You'd be absolutely right. But this isn't really for full-on NBC protection. This is just people that have GOST masks like GP5s or whatever because they're very cheap in their country. Remember, a lot of people that watch my videos are not in really, you know, rich Western countries. Lots of them just want any mask that will protect them from anything, basically. And they can sometimes get access to GP5s and they can sometimes get access to filters like this, but they struggle to get modern GOST filters because, let's be honest, there isn't a good market for that. And it's no good saying to those people, can you buy a $200 NATO mask, please, because they simply can't afford them. So what we want to do is just simply see, will filters like this screw in alright to masks like this and actually protect from vapour? So let's screw that in as far as it will go. There we go. Now, of course, these are bulky, heavy filters. You can probably see the size of that is pretty extreme. So, now we come to the test. So, banana oil as well, and I know people say, why don't you use stronger stuff? Really, you can't sensibly as a civilian get stronger stuff. So, I don't think I can smell it. Let's just break the seal to double check. Yeah, that smells very strongly. So yeah, this appears to be working on the GP5M. And again, with all sorts of things like this, as we've said before, putting better quality O-rings and all that sort of stuff in might work as well. Probably a better option actually. But in terms of just simply screwing into a GOST mask, it seems to screw in without much effort. So let's unscrew that again. Obviously I did the tension quite tight there. Let's see if any paint's rubbed off on it actually. No, doesn't seem to have done, so that's a good sign. So let's just show that again. As you can see, screws in without much force. Yeah, that's a good sign. So that does appear to work well with this one. So let's just get another GOST mask, because it's not worth just testing it with one, because as well, you'll run into the issue sometimes where you can get GOST or NATO masks where the filter thread hasn't been done very well on them. So sometimes things seem to work or not work, even when they should or shouldn't. So, no extra O-rings in this, and that's an important point because this is a mask that's really worth putting extra O-rings in. But what we're going to do is put this into the PMG one. Right, now I am aware this is going to really massively weigh the mask down on one side because of how heavy this filter is going to be in comparison to the mask, but let's have a quick look. So there we go. So yeah, I keep forgetting how good the voice diaphragm is on this old Soviet mask, but there we go. Definitely can't smell anything with this one. Now, because the PMG does have those rubber threads, it does make it a bit easier to seal random filters to it. Because they obviously have more give in them than normal things do. But yes, this is very, very interesting. I want to see quickly if I can find another GOST mask laying about before I end the video, because I am quite tempted just to try it with one more GOST mask to be, you know, perfectly safe. Because as said, I want to try and get rid of as many outliers as possible. Now actually, what might be a good mask to test this with is maybe a PMK1 or something like that, because sometimes PMK1 and GP7s have that sort of different metal filter intake that I found sometimes don't even work properly with GOST filters. So let's try that with that and see what happens. So the PMK1, as you know, I'm not a massive fan of this mask at all. I really don't like the design of it, but what we're doing here is just simply testing a filter with it. So there's our filter thread, 40mm GOST. Here's our potentially a DIN filter. So let's see. Again, there's a bit more of a struggle with this one, but I know it's not a very long sort of filter intake. So that one to me definitely doesn't feel like it's gone in as well. But as I said, I've had even proper like GOST filters that don't want to screw into this mask, just simply because it seems to be like, you know, low quality production, end of the life of the Soviet Union mask. But let's try it. Alright, so that's on my face. As I said, I'm not a massive fan of this mask, but let's try this. Yeah, I can smell that, so let's just take the filter off and on again, just in case we did get it in a bit crooked, but I imagine it's more likely, it could be two factors, couldn't it? It could be just, it doesn't make a proper seal of this mask, or it could be, as we were sort of saying, that this mask could just be quite low quality screws, so let's try and get that as straight as we can before starting to screw it. That's gone quite lopsided again. This is strange, this isn't even what would happen normally if you force a NATO filter into a... Now that seems this time to have gone in a bit straighter, so let's just finish tightening this up. I was also actually just looking at that, having an issue then, where this bit of the metal there was unscrewing, or re-screwing in, so it could have been that the actual vapour was getting through that bit. But the filter definitely looks tighter and less lopsided this time, so let's try that again. I think it's gone in the thread properly. So there we go. I can't smell it. So, yes, it does seem that all the people who suggested this were totally right. So, hats off to you. That's a very useful suggestion. And yeah, I can still smell banana oil in the air. So yes, it would appear that these filters... Yeah, you might be able to see there, look. See, it's unscrewing the actual metal bit from the mask there. Oh, that's interesting. I think that's totally unscrewed it. Let's have a look at this. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. I'm quite intrigued now how they've set this up. So let me just get the filter off of here, but I'm wondering what kind of screw thread they've put in there, because this is interesting, look. There we go. So, yeah, there's this kind of... I didn't even know that bit came off a GP7, or maybe it's not meant to. So what diameter is this thread here? Yeah, see, that is actually wider than 40mm, that. That's interesting. Didn't know they constructed them like that, but yeah. There you go. Weird sort of thing. There's probably somewhere on the internet where people have found that out ages ago, but again, I don't bother always reading those things. So, yeah, pretty fascinating. The actual... Beautiful. But yeah, going back to the subject of the video, it turns out that these probably are actually DIN filters. So you can see on there is a little bit of paint that's come off some of those threads. But as said, even when you're using proper NATO filters with NATO masks, GOST filters with GOST masks, sometimes you will get a bit of that anyway, because again, if you're thinking about Soviet quality control standards or other Warsaw Pact nations quality control standards on both filters and masks, they don't always manage. So I personally wouldn't say a bit of paint has come off of the thread into the, filter thread, that means it's not the right thing. But in regards to this, yes, I'd have said all the people that looked at all the old manuals or whatever it was that came with these. Let's actually look in here and see, does it mention it in here anywhere? But basically, yeah, the point is that nearly every modern filter is just made in Western countries for Western industrial use is just an RD40 X41/7, or whatever they call the NATO name of the filters. But yes, it would appear that this actually is DIN and not NATO. Right, there's no English instructions on that one, it's probably on this sheet. Let's have a quick look. Right, now where's the English bit? Finished to begin with. So these are actually the Scott things that they used to make in Finland, which is interesting, not we? Okay, here we go. English instructions to use Filter Pro 2000. The Filter Pro 2000 was designed with EN 14387 and AS NZS certified. Blah 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 blah. I'm seeing if there's the word DIN in here anywhere. Sadly, I don't think it does. Interestingly though, you get the weird legal stuff on here that's in very small text there, but it's saying how in some countries a P3 filter does not make the mask P3 based on legalese shit, right? So this is just a nice note to finish the video on. In some countries, if you have a P3 filter but it's put on a half-face respirator, it's only classed as P2, because I had somebody whinging at me in a video about that, saying, why are you calling this a P3 mask? Clearly it's P2 even though it says P3 on it, when it was with one of those like JSP Force 8s or whatever it was. And no, it's just in some countries, for some reason, people classify P3 only as P2 if it's half face, not full face. Even though if it's covering your nose and mouth, that shouldn't make a difference. It comes down to how good the rubber is and the strap design. Because I can think of certainly some full face masks that make worse face seals than some very good half face masks. But there you go, you've learned something new as well. But the important bit is, although I don't like the way they seal these filters in bags, it would appear that, yes, they screw in very well, actually, with most GOST threads. So yeah, if you see some of these filters cheap and you wanted just a filter for a GOST mask, it does turn out that, like a few people had suggested to me, they were totally correct, so credit goes to them, not to me, obviously. But yes, this does appear to be a DIN thread on here rather than the standard NATO thread. And yeah, if you added extra washers or whatever, you could probably get a really, really snug fit with these. Some other people were also suggesting it might just be because there's plastic, there's a bit more give to it. But yeah, actually, looking at how fat the threads look on there, I'm not going to bother to get the calipers out. They do look fairly different from NATO threads. Let me just go and get a GOST filter, and I'll go and get a NATO filter quickly. Again, I won't bother the calipers, right? Actually, no, I'll tell you what you can do that's even simpler than that. If I get this out, this GOST to NATO thing, let's compare the size of the lines. Yeah. Yeah, notice that actually there's a bit more residue put on there from just screwing it into a NATO port. So yeah, like I said, this definitely isn't a GOST filter, but the point is it's the old 40mm DIN that works well enough. And judging the size of those, it's there, yeah, seems all good. So there you go. Kind of a pointless video for a lot of people, but if you do live in a country where, for whatever reason, you cannot get a hold of GOST filters and you can only get a hold of GOST masks for whatever reason, you just want something with basic particle vapor protection. Obviously, as we were saying, not proper full CBRN protection, but if you just want some sort of protective gear, yes, these filters do work on GOST masks, it would seem. And if you look in the front, just to answer all the people who are going to bring this up, you can see it's a paper heaper in there. It's not got any weird asbestos or other dodgy shit in there. So, you know, works perfectly fine. But yeah, the only thing I don't like is that, and yeah, made in Finland. The only thing I don't like is that, obviously, they store these in plastic bags. They don't bother putting caps over the filter. Because, you know, having a filter that's already been exposed to the air by the time you open it isn't a good idea, but there you go.